Good morning, Molimon. Welcome on VH Berries.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
I am very grateful because this is episode 100.
Oh, hooray. Oh, that's so brilliant. Yay.
If we cut all of these berries in half, remember there's 100. How many potatoes will we have to make block printing?
Classic. I'll let everybody else work that one out.
So I was referring to an activity that you made in March of 2020 with your kids related to potatoes and block printing.
Yeah, don't worry. I knew exactly what you were talking about, and I'm so thrilled that you saw that. That feels like such a long time ago. Yes, so that wonderful time when I was doing all that potato printing, I mean, that was because we were all in lockdown in the UK, and so we needed things to do. We all needed to be busy, and me and many of my friends found ourselves at home with our children, and it's really hard to fill a whole day, and a lot of them were being home educated. But again, we couldn't just all sit doing maths and English at the kitchen table all day long. We needed creative things to do. And so that was where I came up with this idea of using potatoes to do printing. I mean, I am a block printer, so to print and to make pattern comes very, very naturally to me. And I just sort of remembered back in the day when I was a child at school that we would have printed with potatoes. Another reason I chose it was because it's something that, particularly here in the UK, we eat an awful lot of potatoes and we all have them in our larder or in our fridge. So it was really accessible, because I think in lockdown, that was one of the problems, was you couldn't sort of get your hands on anything. You couldn't necessarily have all these art materials and things that other people were doing. And so I wanted to come up with an idea to enable people just to find things that they already had in their homes. And so potatoes, along with poster paints or emulsion paints or all that sort of thing, was something that most of us could find buried away under the stairs. We have pots of paints, don't we? All sort of little tester pots. And so began this great potato printing thing. And I never thought it would be quite such a sort of catchy thing to do, but thanks to Instagram and IGTV, it was picked up very quickly. And I think people were just grateful for ideas of how to entertain themselves and their children during those tricky times.
Molimon, as you mentioned, you're a British block printer. So can you tell us about the meaning of this two-word block printing?
Sure. Well, block printing's been around for a long time. I think it can be traced back to sort of 700 AD, possibly in China. It's difficult to really go back to the beginning, but block printing is a form of printing pattern onto cloth originally, and it would have started off by actually, the very first print was probably like a handprint in a cave, and it has grown from there. We as humans inherently want to decorate and make pattern and leave our mark. And as of times have gone on, we've also used pattern as a way of distinguishing which tribe we belong to, or where our sort of position is amongst our village, and or what area we might have lived in. And so it's been around for a very, very, very long time. It's found all over India, and in particular, a region of India called Rajasthan is the sort of home of block printing. And there they use these wonderful carved wooden blocks to create pattern and create fabrics. In India, you can't turn a corner without seeing printed cloth, and it will have all been done, especially originally, with block printing. So really, it's an art form that also had a very kind of practical reason to it as well. And it's something that I happened across about 12 years ago. And the moment I first lifted that block, I was hooked. I absolutely just loved that immediacy of lifting the block off the fabric or the paper and seeing an instant colourful print. So it really was something I did as a hobby. It has grown, and I now have a business that is all based on the art and craft of block printing. And it's something that I think is so wonderful in so many ways that I always wish to celebrate it. And so not only do we sell printed cloth, but I also teach block printing as well. And as we heard earlier, it starts with the potato and then we move on to carving lino or lovely, beautiful wooden blocks that print forever. So it's a big subject, to be honest. You know, it's an amazing craft, and there's so many elements to it. I'll tell you all about them. But that in essence is what block printing is.
This is a big subject with a lot of a category, because this activity is standing the test of time with the longevity. We can qualify it with one word. It's an art.
Yes, absolutely. It really is. And actually, I think that's really interesting as well. You say that because we sell cloth and wallpaper, which is really seen as a practical thing to decorate your home with. And actually, it's quite separate to the art world. So you don't find our pieces of fabric hanging in galleries or things like that. And I think that's really interesting. And actually, I did some work recently, and I very specifically made it more of an art piece. So I printed some lovely silk, and then I backed it onto a cloth and sewed over the top of it. I added another layer to it, and they were made into wall hangings, and they've just recently been sold as part of an exhibition. And it was a really lovely thing to take what I do, as inherent as it is as a craft, and elevate it into an art form, because it really is. Every part of the fabric that we sell has been printed with a small wooden block by block by block. And for every colour that you see on the cloth is a different wooden block that's overlaid. And so if that's not art, then what is?
And concerning the transmission of this art, Molly Mahon, you did, after the lockdown, a very special courses online to teach block printing.
Yeah, I did. Via this really clever channel. It's called Create Academy. They asked me if I would do an online course with them. And I was thrilled, because I love running my workshops. And I really want to share so much about block printing, what goes into it, how you can do it at home. And I want people to experience the joy that it gives. It's actually a very meditative process. It's very repetitive, and it's very good for our mind to do anything that is repetitive, whether it's yoga, meditation. It's similar to that, because you really have to concentrate hard. So this online course enabled me to talk people through all these different subjects, from finding colours that you love to searching for inspiration to make pattern and print with, and so on, how to print at home, how to print fabric, how to print wallpaper, maybe even how to print something and make a lampshade with it. And it's broken down into lots of different classes. And the great thing is you can stop and start the course and do it in your own time. So you're not being rushed along through a day. You've got the course at your fingertips, and you can just go backwards and forwards to it. It also meant I could take people to places that I love. So in the video, I take them to India and show the block printers of Rajasthan. I take them to a place called Charleston, which is this incredible farmhouse down here in Sussex where I live. I'm just south of London. It's full of decorative features, and it's a wonderful source of inspiration. So the course, we took people to places that have inspired me, and I've shown people how you can literally pick a leaf from a tree and use it to create a pattern with. So it's a really immersive, a good value course, I think. It's 5 hours of content. So yes, it's wonderful to have that, and people can access it from all over the world. So that's brilliant.
So through these online courses that can be found on the Create Academy, there is an entire chapter about someone that you mentioned just before. One of your main inspiration, in addition to Charleston, this is India.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, India changed my life, and I think has probably shaped my business, more than I can ever really fully understand. I was actually taught to block print by a British lady, And then I was self-taught. I haven't studied art or textiles or design or print or anything like that at school level, let alone university level. So I had to immerse myself in this subject and make sure that I learned as much as I could. And one of the ways I thought I would achieve that best was to go to Jaipur and see the block printing happen in real life, see how they were using their wooden blocks, how they were mixing their paints, how they were applying it, drying it, setting it, all those fascinating things, whether you could work with natural dyes, etc. And so I eventually committed to this one trip to Jaipur, where I thought I would take notes and see what was going on and bring that back to my studio in England. And I absolutely successfully did that. But what I didn't realize was that I would fall quite so sort of deeply in love with the whole setup I found there and the people that I met and the way that they work. And I just found myself very much on a level with all these other artisan workers. And so I now go back there all the time. Well, I haven't recently, obviously, but normally and prior to COVID, I was there a lot. And I have wonderful working relationships with lots of different print studios. And so most of my fabric is now printed in India, either in Jaipur or in Delhi. We have been very lucky to find this amazing distributor in America who distributes our fabrics in America and Canada and Australia and Spain. And so the quantities needed outweighed anything I could possibly achieve in my studio where I'm sitting now. And so it's wonderful to have grown these relationships with these studios out in India. And we do a lot of printing out there now.
Absolutely, Molimon, because not only India has inspired you for the material, the texture, but also the Marwawi horses, which is specific to the north region of India.
Yeah, absolutely. Marwari horse. It's a very unusual looking horse. It has these little sharp pointy ears and it's quite, there aren't many of them left now. And again, on one of my trips, I was very lucky to go and stay in this incredible fort called Dundlod Fort, where the couple there breed Marwari horses, and they're the most sort of majestic, magical things. And I didn't unfortunately get to ride one, but just sort of being near them and seeing them and that, and hearing about their story was absolutely fascinating. I think there's something really romantic about a horse, particularly when you see it galloping through the deserts of India. And so again, that really stuck with me and was the reason I developed this Marwari horse print that we now sell on fabric and wallpaper.
And I am very curious about the entire process, from the ideas that came to your mind from seeing this very special horse to drawing it, I guess, designing it, and then to put it on a hard material to be able to put it on wallpapers or other textile.
Yeah, I mean, with all my designs, they all start here in my studio as pencil drawings. I'm not massively techie, so I do pencil drawings and then I either send those or I take them to India with me. And from there, we look at them and we work out how they can work as a block. And again, I mean, it's such an incredible craft, but we work with very skilled wood carvers who, chip away and create the pattern. So you see the pattern growing out of a chunk of wood and it's so magical. And that's your tool, that's your printing tool. And then from there, we take that to the print studio and we have to look at the base cloth that we want to print on. We have to figure what colours will work together well, what colours bring us joy, which colours would we like in our homes back in the UK and all around the world. And so we'll work with a colour master. And again, they're incredibly skilled craftspeople in themselves. This isn't computerized. They make their colours by eye. So I'll show them, I don't know, it could be anything, a piece of ribbon or a colour on a bit of paper, or perhaps I've painted a colour that I love. And they'll go and mix that up into a print paste. And it's amazing how they know how to balance the recipe. And they do that each time we reprint. They have to remix those colours. And that in itself is an incredible skill. We then get to the print table and the cloth has to be pinned meticulously and absolutely as straight as possible onto the print table. In India, a standard print table is about 5 meters, which would allow for a sari and the little blouse, the top. And now actually we're working in a studio where we've managed to create tables that are 20 meters long. They're very, very long, and they can run a piece of fabric down the whole length of table, and then off they go. They've got their tray of paint, they've got their wooden blocks, and they start and they print. You hear the wonderful thud of the block, and we layer, we build the colors up. Yeah, it's just the most magical process.
This is a magical process, and according to what I've saw, for you, Mahon, there are only 4 colors that are acceptable on walls: yellow, pink, green, and blue.
Oh, there are so many more. What about pink? And oh my goodness, I don't think there are any rules ever in anything. I just love color. I think wallpaper adds such an interesting dimension to a room. And even if you wallpaper with a strong, bold pattern, you still hang your paintings and your pictures over the top. You know, it's still a backdrop to a room, but it adds dimension, it adds energy, it makes a room interesting. It's a really lovely added feature, I think, wallpaper.
And to come back to your environment, you are located in Forest Row in East Sussex in England. Can you tell us about the environment and your time growing up in this very special region?
Sure, yeah. So I'm in a place called the Ashdown Forest. The village is Forest Row, and it's about 30 miles south of London. Unbelievably rural. I live down a long, bumpy track. We are surrounded by mixed forestry. We've got huge oak trees just outside our front door. And therefore, nature has really had a big influence on my patterns and my designs. I'm much more comfortable in the countryside than I am in the city. But I do love accessing the city. So it's a wonderful place to be. And I grew up not very far from here. So very similar scenario. My parents live in a very rural part of the countryside. We would spend our weekends outside. My parents had animals they looked after. My father tended his flower beds and his vegetable patch. All these things that I sort of put around me are things that I grew up with. My mother's an artist, and she's always been a maker. She's always sewing, printing, making, doing. And that's very normal. And for me, you know, a Saturday is all about getting creative. I do it with my children. That's how I like to keep busy. That's how I entertain myself. That's how I kind of find my space, I guess, on this planet, is by doing things with my hands to make me feel some kind of joy or satisfaction. So yeah, we're really lucky with where we live here. And I have this little studio in the garden. We have a 4-bedroom cottage that I live in with my 3 children, my husband and my dog. And then down the track, further down the bumpy track, we have our office. So Mahon headquarters is just down the road, so we can walk to work. We can lead quite a sort of slow life, actually, which is really, really wonderful, suits us all.
And on this planet with this very slow life, you made a collaboration with Christie's. So I guess that they had to drive from a bumpy track to get to your home to collaborate.
Well, people are always quite surprised, and we often have to say, don't ever think you're going the wrong way, because we are at the end of that track. I think people enjoy it. It's fun. But yes, my collaboration with Christie's has been absolutely amazing. That was all up in their auction house, near in central London on on King Street. And it was an amazing thing for them to ask me to come and do that. It was in collaboration with their collector sale. And what I got to do, which was absolute joy, was go around and collect or select items from this sale, from their warehouse, and make little vignettes, build little areas using my fabrics and wallpapers to make those items really shine and to show how maybe you could incorporate them into the modern home. And I was really humbled by doing that. Actually, it's been an incredible experience for me. And I loved the bringing together of the antique furniture and my slightly sort of new, modern, bold prints and patterns, and putting them all together and seeing where we ended up. It was great fun.
Absolutely. And right now, your team and yourself, Mahon, is also focusing on taking some other items. But this time, this is to prepare Christmas.
Right, Christmas time. Yes, well, we love Christmas, obviously. It's a very busy time for us. What we really want people to do this year is get creative themselves. You know, we offer block printing kits. There's no excuse. We sell blocks, we sell paint, we sell all the things you need, cards, wrapping paper. We think that Christmas should be more personal than maybe it's become. And it's just so easy, isn't it, to kind of go out and buy this and spend all this money. But actually, if we're careful and we buy wisely, we can make things. And how much nicer is a personalized gift? Even if it's just the wrapping paper or if it's just the card, there's so many things that you can do. And I show that in my online course as well, and on my Instagram. And I just think we really want to slow down and tell people it's not about how much you've spent, but it's about how much energy and heart you've put into that thing. So really for Christmas, that's the main thing. It's also a great excuse for me to produce some really lovely, thoughtful, well-made, beautifully printed products that people can buy and gift to someone that are going to last a long time, have got a lovely kind of element of joy to them, and hopefully will also have a practical use as well as looking very pretty.
This is very connected to your value, Molly, because you believe in the ideas and the ideal of family and home. And for all of this, it takes colors, texture, and pattern to truly inspire and delight.
Yeah, I mean, my home is really important to me. It's where my children's memories are going to start from and stem from. It's where, when you've had a terrible day, it's the place you come back to. If you've journeyed away, it's the place that welcomes you back. It's where we now spend a huge majority of our times. And I want my home to feel welcoming and friendly and inviting and all those things. And so I think creating a home is something that's very vital that we all take time and think about doing. And we really need to ask ourselves, do I love this? Because there are so many messages out there saying your home should be like this, or you must do it like that, and this is the color you must use. And I suppose what I want to show and share is that it's such a personal thing. I mean, our homes couldn't be more personal, and we really must make them our own. I love, decorating things. So I've painted around my fireplace, my cupboard doors. I see myself in my home right now. This is where I live with my family, and we really sort of make it work for the moment that we're in now. It's a movable feast, my home as well. I'm always moving things around, but I love adding a new cushion, and you can do little things. It doesn't mean spending vast sums of money. I think when we're doing up a home, invest well, buy things that will last forever, and you'll only have to spend the money once. And also make things for your home, make some lampshades, make some cushions. There's so much we can do to kind of make our home personal and really be a space that we want to spend time in.
Lani, Orlando, and Archie.
Algie. Yes, so I have 3 children. Orlando, who's 8, Algie, and then Lani. And Orlando was born in the house where we live. So we've been there for about 9 years now. And it's a really, really happy home for them. They all have wallpaper in their bedrooms, of course. And I'd like to think that they love where they live. I think they're very, very lucky. The boys go out and ride their bikes and climb trees. Lani can walk to school, which is brilliant. And our house has really looked after us over the last sort of 10 or so years. It's a very lovely place. We're lucky to live here.
And I can truly sense that there is a contrast for you between indoor and outdoor. And I believe that maybe that one of your next step is to produce pieces of art that we can put outside.
Oh, well, that's an interesting idea. People often do ask me if I could do outdoor cushions. And I have an Indian parasol, which I love. And actually, my husband owns this amazing marquee, and we were only talking 2 nights ago about having a block printed lining for it, because we love, if we entertain, we love to sit outside if we can. And how lovely to have a sort of lovely parasol or Indian printed marquee over your head in the garden. So yeah, you're spot on, Victor. We've got to bring more of it outside. I think you're right.
And also, I think that the materials, if you are doing something for the outdoor environment, is different. It has to be waterproof, for example.
Well, exactly. And I feel very conscious of what that means. You know, I don't want to start using plastic and things like that. We're very careful and thoughtful about how toxic everything that we make is, or how toxic maybe our paints are. We use water-based paints. They would be hopeless for outside things. We don't treat our fabrics and cottons, so they would rot instantly. They'd be hopeless for outside. So it's a very interesting kind of topic. You know, is there a clever way? People are coming up with concepts and fabrics and different things all the time. Can we find a lovely fabric that would last outside? Because certainly for the UK anyway, we have an awful lot of rain. And of course, it's easy maybe to bring cushions in, but you don't want to do that all the time. You want a thing that will last. You want a parasol that can stay outside. So it's a real challenge, because we'd love to do outdoor stuff, but it needs to be thoughtfully done and make sure it's, you know, sustainable and all of those sort of kind things for the planet.
We need a parasol, Molly Mahon, that lasts until next summer, when you will be able to do a physical workshop again.
I agree. I absolutely agree. And actually, we're just starting up our new schedule of workshops in real life, in real person. And that's enough. There's nothing that beats actually being with other human beings and sharing and doing communal printing and all getting together. I'm very excited about that.
And do you have any pieces of advice for someone who wants to start in printmaking in this industry, for example, or in design in general?
Well, gosh, I can only really share in terms of block printing, and circling all the way back. I absolutely mean it when I say start with a potato. Use a potato, cut a simple design, find out whether you like printing. Are you enjoying the process? Does it bring you joy when you lift that potato and you see the little pattern that you've printed? Are you happy to print a whole length of paper? Because if you still get that energy and excitement and passion that I still get 12 years later, then you know you're doing the right thing. You can then progress. You can start carving your own designs into lino. It's so accessible. Buy it online, all good art shops. There's so many different paints we can use now that we print with, although please always use water-based. And if that really hooks you, then take yourself on a trip to Jaipur. You'll just have your eyes and ears and heart opened by an experience of going there. So I'd say start small, and I hope that you get the bug like I did and you just continue on this incredible journey.
And also the metaphor is to do it now and start now, because the potato is a vegetable that is perishable and that can become toxic if we wait too long.
Absolutely. And isn't there a saying, a job begun is a job half done? So often we think about doing something like that, don't we? And we never get round to it. And you're quite right. Go and get a potato out of your fridge or your larder, chop it in half with a kitchen knife, carve a little shape into it. You've got nothing to lose. I'm sure you've got some kind of paint somewhere. Just give it a go on a bit of A4 paper and see how it goes. And if it all goes wrong, you can throw it in the bin. You really have not wasted very much or done much damage. So you're right. Just get on with it. Do it.
Molly Mahon, thank you so much for your time.
Oh, it's been such a pleasure. So lovely to chat with you.